Hi, and welcome to our Retired Nomad Adventures.
I'm Retired Rick.
And I'm Daphne, and today we come to you from the beautiful town of Portimão, Portugal, and this is our Could We Live Here video. So we have a criteria or a checklist. It has to, of course, pass a vibe check, but then we also have some items that we kind of look at to determine if a place that we come to for a month is a place we could come and stay long term.
For us, long term would mean 90 days at a time. So if we can come back to some place for 90 days, then that's what we refer to as long term.
Yeah, okay. So we'll start with some basic information about Portimão, and I will say that we decided to come to Portimão because we knew we wanted to come to Portugal. We knew that we wanted to be in the Algarve, and we wanted to come someplace that we hadn't been to before. And we had heard over and over again about how much people love Portimão, so we thought this was a great place for us to start. The population is about 50,000. The main industry here used to be canning and sardines, yes. And then they said in the 80s when the recession hit that that industry kind of went away, and so now it's more tourism, retail shops, and
small businesses.
Small businesses, yeah. Okay, so that's sort of the main industry. And then we like to take a look at the crime rate. And so what would you say about the crime rate here?
The crime rate is really low.
So the crime index goes from 0 to 100, and then theirs was 18.07.
Yeah, which is very low. They consider 0 to 20 as being very low. The best way to really look at crime is if you're walking around and you feel safe. And when we walk around here, we feel safe. There was not one time that we have not felt safe or uneasy or anything like that. But with that said, you still have to be careful about petty crimes here and there, but we have not seen that whatsoever.
No, I feel like Portugal is one of the safest countries, period. And then, but we also were curious about that index. So when you say 0 to 100 and it's 18.07, so we're from Southern California, so we thought, well, let's look up San Diego and let's see what San Diego's crime rate is, or crime index is. And so San Diego came in at 40.23. And so that was considered, what was that considered? That was considered low, not very low. So I think it was to 40
Just
was
low. Yeah, to 40 was low, but
you can see the comparison, right? So 18.07, and then the safety index here was 82 out of 100, which was very high.
Very high.
And then San Diego's was 60 out of 100, which was high. So I feel like...
with those numbers, I can honestly say walking through here, I can see it being true. So
as a woman, I feel that. Like there isn't any place that... we were walking through, we did like a hike through the mountains, and it was a lot of like desolate kind of, I don't know, a place that I would normally be scared. And I even mentioned, I said, it's so interesting that I don't even feel a little bit nervous here. This feels very safe. Okay. The climate. So we want to be in a place that the weather is nice. And so the climate here is one of the big selling points. It is beautiful.
It's fantastic.
It's beautiful year-round.
It's sunny. We've been here. They talk about the highs being 82 for a high, and it's just fantastic. It's every day is a beautiful nice day that we've had here so far. I mean, I'm sure there's bad days in the wintertime.
They said in January it's their coldest month, and their average weather is about 55 degrees in January. And I'll say the last place we were at when we were in England, every day we'd wake up and we'd be excited to see what the weather was, because the weather would kind of dictate the things that we do. Here we don't worry about, wonder about, you just know it's going to be a beautiful day no matter what. So the climate here is fantastic. Yeah.
Can't beat it. Can't beat the climate. You just can't beat it.
Yeah. And I would say, so then the next thing we look at, because we love to be near the water, is it near the water? So
this is just a less than a 5-minute walk to the water.
And you're surrounded
by it. Yeah, you're just surrounded by it. Just where we're at right here it's a great location.
Yeah, and so the water here, so it's beaches. So you've got Praia da Rocha beach, which is like, when you think of the Algarve, or if you've seen pictures of the Algarve, you've probably seen Praia da Rocha beach. It's one of the most famous, it's probably the most famous beach in the Algarve. And so it's beautiful. It's got lots of big white sandy beach area, and then the water is...
just clear and different colors of blues and greens, and It's just fantastic.
Yeah, and then on the other side, there's also a marina area, so you also have a different sort of water vibe over there, and a nice boardwalk that you can walk along, and so yeah, we're just surrounded by water here.
Yes.
So check. That's a yes. How about, is it walkable? That's another thing. We don't want to. We will rent a car every now and then. We haven't, but we would if we wanted to go visit somewhere far away. But for the most part, we just want to be able to walk. So is it walkable?
It's definitely walkable. It's easy to walk. We incorporate grocery shopping into our daily exercise. So the grocery store is about a little bit over a mile away, and we just go there, grab our groceries, and come back. And that defeated our grocery shopping and also allowed us to exercise a little bit. So wherever we go, we walk, and it hasn't been any problem. And we definitely would rent a car if we needed to, but for our 30-day stay here, we haven't needed to.
Yeah, and I would say that grocery store we go to when we want to incorporate a walk. Plus, there's also a little, to be honest, there's a little place where Rick gets sardines there, and so he always wants to go to that grocery store. There is a grocery store just a couple of blocks from us, and we go to there often also. But I'd say we log about 20,000 steps each day, and so anywhere from 18 to 23,000 we log just sort of walking around, and I think we've kind of been everywhere.
Yeah, just exploring, and we'll do our morning walks on the beach, so we get a lot of our exercise and steps in that time.
Yeah.
And then we don't get any steps when we relax and take a nap.
but walkable, absolutely, that's a definite check. And then the walks are also really beautiful. Yes. So you have the little Old Town area, you have the marina, you have the cliffs, you have the beach. You just yes.
You could take a walk in the same direction and just be totally different on each walk you take, depending on where you go. So,
how about public transportation? What would we say about that?
Well, we arrived here by plane, and then we took an Uber from Faro to here, and the Uber ride was, I believe, $68. No problem getting an Uber.
And that was like 45 miles.
Yeah, it's about 45 miles. There's also a company equivalent to Uber we were told about. I downloaded the app. We never used it. It was Bolt, and I compared both of them. Bolt seems to be a little more expensive. But I'm not sure. We never used Bolt because we just used Uber. It was just more familiar to us, and it's worked. And there's a train station about 1.5 miles from us.
Yeah.
We walked there just to see what it was. An easy train station, a couple platforms, easy to navigate, and that's what we're going to take for our next town we're going to visit.
Yeah. So you've got the train station that will take you to all of the nearby any place in the Algarve that you want to go. Super easy to navigate. There's a bus system here also that we haven't used at all, but we know that it'll take you to the, you can get around the city on the bus pretty easily, and then also it'll take you to the neighboring towns very easily also. So they have a very well-developed public transportation system. Okay, another check for us is proximity to airport. So we just talked about it's about 45 miles away. We would highly recommend, if you're coming anywhere in the Algarve, that you come to the Faro airport. It's a small airport, easy to navigate. Yes. You could go to Lisbon, fly into Lisbon, but that's about 175 miles from where we're at versus the 45. And so, just weigh that.
And with the Faro airport, right outside the airport is a big car rental company that we've rented cars there before. We haven't done it this time, but a couple of years ago we did. It's just so much. It's just easy. You can drop off the car at the airport and then just get on the plane. So it's just really nice.
Yeah. Okay, so another checkbox we have is activities, like what is there to do here in Portimão? And when I was looking at this and trying to come up with it, I had to stop because I was just like, okay, we're talking but there's so much that you can do. You're really only limited by your own desires and what you want to do. Yeah, so
you pretty much do whatever you want to do. Any beach activity is out here. They have jet skis out here.
You can go paddle boarding, you can go kayaking, you can go, they have these cute like old-timey pedal boats, but on top of that, and so they're shaped in bright colors of their cars and bright colors, and then they also have a slide on the top of them. So you see the kids taking them out, and then they're out in the ocean going down on the slide on these pedal boats. which looks super fun. We even saw walking on the beach every day. There's an aerobics class happening out on the sand and even in the water on the beach. You can, if you're like us, you may want to just relax and enjoy some lounge chairs, so you can rent lounge chairs on the beach.
That's the best.
Yeah, and they even have, they'll come up and sell you donuts while you're in your lounge chair, and there's also snack shacks everywhere where you can stop and, get something to eat or drink on the beach. There's hiking paths everywhere.
Yeah, there's horseback riding. We were on a hiking path. There was a group of people coming on horseback and getting some great photos. It just looked really
cool.
Good. Yeah, if you went on horseback. So that was nice.
You can also do all kinds of tours. So tours take off from over in the marina area. So almost anywhere you want to go in the Algarve, you can get a tour to that. We did a 90-minute tour to, let's see if we can say it correctly.
Benagil? Is Benagil or Benagil?
Benagil Caves. Well, we went to the beautiful caves, and it really inexpensive. So for the both of us, it was less than $45 to do a beautiful tour. And then you can kind of go anywhere in the Algarve as a day trip from here. So so anywhere you want to go, you can get to on the train from here. So lots and lots to do. Okay, how about culture? So if I think of culture, I think are there museums? What's the art scene like? Are there plays, concerts, that kind of thing? And so there are museums, and they seem mostly geared toward the history of Portimão. So there's 2 pretty big museums. There's also some historical buildings, some historical churches. Of course, there's local art galleries, and then there are lots of bands and that kind of thing that play kind of in the main strip area. So we wouldn't know anything about the night scene, but there does seem to be a pretty big night scene here. So they say if you want a party town in the Algarve, Albufeira would be the place to go to. And I think Portimão ranks number 2 behind that. Again, we haven't seen it, but we're in bed by then. But there is, if you're interested in a night scene, they have a very active night scene here. Okay, nearby. So nearby, Portimão is pretty nicely located within the Algarve, so you could get to Lagos really easily. You could get to Albufeira really easily, but the towns that are the closest are Alvor, Faragudo, and
Faro.
Faro's close, but Algarve, and Cabrero, that little. So that's a beautiful little town that's super got colorful buildings. In fact, the Benagil Caves were just past that.
And then if you wanted to get to Lisbon, it's just a 4.5 hour train ride. So not bad at all.
Yeah, and easy because you can just get on the train here and then you get into Lisbon. But I would say for us, we walked over to Faragudo. It's that close. Yeah. And so we just walked over the bridge and went over to Faragudo. We had been there before, and so we knew, as soon as I knew we were coming to Portimão, we had eaten at a restaurant in Faragudo, and so I said, we absolutely have to go to this restaurant again. And you could have taken the bus, you could have taken an Uber, or there was also a water ferry for transportation. Yeah. But we just decided to walk over there.
It's actually, to that restaurant we went to was exactly 1 mile from where we're staying right here, but it was a 3.5 mile walk just because we had to go along the bridge. So we had to bypass the water. We could, like we said, we could have taken a taxi right over there on the water taxi, but we walked, and it was only 3.5, so we incorporated our walk into that trip.
3.5 miles one way.
3.5 miles one way.
Well, we did it both, but we also ate really well, so we tried to walk that off. Speaking of, so how about the food scene here? What would you say about the food scene?
Well, I'm in heaven here.
I'm mad here. I keep gaining weight. I keep thinking, oh no.
No, I love any kind of fish. I love the sardines, and it's just fantastic. It's just great food.
Well, I feel like we've eaten out pretty much every day, or at least almost every day, and I think it's because of your love of the food scene, of the Portuguese, typical traditional Portuguese food. But you can get anything that you want to get here. So we've had Indian food, we've had Vietnamese food, we've had Italian, like Asian fusion. And you can, our first couple of meals when we got here, we were thinking, it's a little more expensive than what we thought it was going to be. So our first dinner here was about 60 euros. potatoes, and we expected that. It was a beautiful
$60.
$60, sorry, and it was a beautiful restaurant overlooking the ocean, and so we expected that was going to be a little high. But then we thought we found like a budget-friendly place the next day for lunch, but we ended up spending almost the same on our lunch as we did for dinner, and so we thought, we're in trouble. But we made it our mission. We made it our mission to find more budget-friendly places to eat, and we have found plenty.
Yeah,
so
they're all. You just have to find them, get away from the tourist area, but also in the tourist area,
there's gems.
Yeah, there's gems, and when we say expensive, it's way cheaper than from where we're at.
Yeah. So when so $60 for a meal,
with,
on the
with
beach,
drinks,
is nothing compared to home. It was a little more pricey than what we had been expecting. But I would say that we can all day long get a meal, including a drink each, and a great meal for both of us for $35.
Yeah.
And we've even found some real hidden gems where we've been able to get those same great meals for less than $25. In fact, that's why Rick likes to walk to the grocery stores.
It's just right there. You have to stop.
He could get 6 sardines, a big thing of bread, potatoes, and salad for €9.50. Yeah. So the food scene is alive and well, and you love really it, good. And I feel like I'm paying a real price for it. Okay, cost of living here. So this is a tricky one for us because, of course, we're just basically tourists coming in for a short amount of time, but we looked up some things, and so what they said is that the minimum wage currently in Portugal for a month is $1,060, and the average person's salary is about $1,407. Teachers make about $39,000 a year. And then when you take a look at rent, that's tricky because we're here for 28 days. And so we're paying a much higher cost than you would if you were a local person. So we're paying $2,100 a month for our rent. $2,117. But if you look in this exact same building and you were able to sign a lease for a year, you would be paying, what did we say, 900 euros. Then if you wanted a 3-bedroom in here, it was 1330. So you can see that there's a bigger cost savings, and this is in a high-rise building kind of 2 blocks from the ocean, and so you could certainly get something for much cheaper if you were willing to go more inland. And let's see, how about, so our meals, we already talked about that, and then at the grocery store, so we said eggs were about $1.50 for a dozen?
No,
that's the bread. Okay.
The bread was $1.50.
Bread's $1.50, eggs are $2.50, and then we get a great bottle of wine for, the white wine that we get is about $2.50, and the red wine that we get is about $2.20. It's €1.99. And then a nice sized cucumber.
And that being said, it is fantastic.
I wouldn't want anything else. Good. Like, it's so delicious. So it's not even like we're sacrificing. We are every time we open a bottle and we have a drink, we're like, this is so good. And so just a single cucumber, 70 cents. What else did we say? Oh, a pound of potatoes.
No, it was 6.5 pounds of potatoes. Was what?
$4.31. So grocery prices are really very good.
Yeah.
And then how about that fancy haircut you got?
Well, I need another haircut, but the haircut I got was about $5.50. So not bad.
That's great. In fact, we just talked to our son last night. He lives in Seattle, and so he was calling us as he was leaving, getting his haircut. And so I said, Dad just got his haircut for €5. And so he said, you don't want to know how much my haircut was. What did he say? It was
said $64.
$64 for a man's haircut. And so I said, you've got to be able to do better than that. And he said, the best I could probably do is probably $50. And so that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's crazy. So it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice here.
So that's the cost of living here.
Yes.
Okay, now our overall vibe check. So that was our criteria, things that we look at. And then how do we feel here? And so I would say when we first got here, there's a lot of high-rise buildings in Portimão. The beaches are stunning.
Beautiful.
In this Praia da Rocha area is absolutely gorgeous. But it is a very touristy destination, and there's a lot of high-rise buildings. And I'd say when we first got here, we were kind of distracted by that.
Yeah, probably distracted, intimidated, kind of overwhelmed with the buildings that you see, and then navigating in between. It's no big deal, but then all of a sudden you come out to the beach and you're like, oh my goodness, it's like this is fantastic. But we were kind of overwhelmed at first.
Yeah, and I would say that it maybe colored our view. And so that is one of the things that we realized as we were here. Staying someplace longer term and then finding your places and your kind of groove somewhere changes everything. So if we would have said the vibe check in the very beginning, I'd have said this is probably not a
good
place.
Vacation spot.
For a short amount of time.
For a short time.
Especially when you look at the Algarve and all that the Algarve has to offer. But now that we have found our groove, the vibe it totally passes the vibe check. We are loving it here. So what do you think? Could we live here long term?
Most definitely. I think we can live here for 90 days. Leave and be able to come back somewhere else and then eventually come back for another 90 days. So I think for us, could we live here? Yes, I really believe we could. Yeah, 90 days would be, I mean, the time that we've been here already has flown by. I can't believe that we're coming to the end of that. So Portimão, Portugal is getting a hands down yes. Yes, we can come back. So you may see us coming back here. So we hope that this has been helpful, and we thank you for joining us on our retired nomad adventures. We hope that you'll consider subscribing, and we also hope you'll come back next week when we go over our budget and see if we stayed within our budget or if we blew the budget or not. So hope you'll join us. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.